Hey, this is Mr. Ward. This is the Algebra Do Now 33.3 video key, currently for A block. I might use it for other blocks at some point, but here we go. What is the simplified version of the square root of 12? So which one would this be? So here's what we want to do. When we get the square root of 12, what we're going to be doing is we're getting the square root of, well, we're going to split up 12. So we can split 12 into 2 times 2 times 3. Okay, well, 2 times 2 is just 2 squared, or 4. Okay, so we can actually pull that out of square root jail. And 3 is going to have to stay in the square root jail. So 2 times 2, the square root of that, so that's basically getting the square root of 2 squared. The square root of that will be 2. Okay, so it's going to be, we'll take this outside of the square root, so that's going to be a 2. And that'll be 2 root 3. And of course, there is a plus and minus version of a square root. Let me make that a little neater. It's a little better. Ugh, I don't really like it that much, but that's okay. It's plus or minus the square root of 2 root 3. So there, plus or minus 2 square root of 3. And I know that's an annoying sort of structure, but it's just what we're stuck with for now. And there you go. Okay, now let's keep going and see what else we've got. And we get the square root of 288. So 288. So that we get the square root of that. Let's think about what 288 is. We can actually break 288 into 2. The quickest thing to do is to see what happens when you have it. Times 1, 144. And we know, hopefully, that 144 is 12 squared. So that's going to be the square root of 2. And we can pull this 144 out and make it a 12. We get the square root of the 144. So that's going to be, of course, plus or minus. So let's find that. The square root of 12. So 12 square root of 2, I should say. 12 square root of 2 plus or minus, that's this one here. Okay, let's keep going. Now, there's a little reminder for you. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c is the standard form. A is the coefficient of the x squared term, so that means the multiplier of it. B is the coefficient or multiplier or number multiplying times the linear term. X is a linear term. X squared is a quadratic term or square term. And c is the constant coefficient, which means it is simply a constant. There's no variable attached to it. So we're going to figure out what a, b, and c are in this equation. So let's copy that down here. We need to, so A is possibly the trickiest one. Let's deal with B and C first then. C is going to equal 10 because that's the constant. And B is the thing that's multiplied just by x, not x squared, so that's a 7. And A is the thing that's multiplied by x squared. Well, what's multiplied by x squared? Since nothing is written down, it's just a 1. So A is 1. Okay. Now, I remind you of what the quadratic formula looks like in the next one. So if you worked out that 1 was A and B was 7 and C was 10, let's just work out, not the whole quadratic formula, though I encourage you, if you think you can give values of x using the quadratic formula, go for it. But right now, I'm just asking you to figure out what b squared minus 4ac would be. So if b is 7, so we're just figuring out this part. So I'm going to copy pasta that right down here. And we're just going to replace b with 7. Okay, and then instead of a, we're going to have 1. And instead of c, we're going to have 10. Okay, so we've got 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10. So that's going to simplify into 49, because that's 7 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 10, which will be 40. So that will equal 9. So what that tells us is that what's inside the square root is a 9. So that's going to end up being plus or minus 3. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and work out the whole quadratic formula for us on this. So we've got negative b plus or minus the square root of, now we know it's 9, all over 2a. Okay, and that's going to equal, so negative of b, that's going to be a negative 7 plus or minus, the square root of 9 will be 3, and that's why we have a plus or minus, and that's going to be over 2 times 1, so that'll just be 2. So we get negative 7 plus 3, that's going to be negative 4, okay, and over 2. And then we've also got negative 7 minus 3, so that'll be negative 10 over 2. Okay, that's equal to negative 5. And that's equal to negative 2. Okay, so when we work out the quadratic formula, x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 5. If we were to factor this equation, the original one was here, x squared plus 7x plus 10. If we factored that, we would end up with x plus 5 times x plus 2, which means the x-intercepts are negative 5 and negative 2. And look at that, we got negative 5 and negative 2 are what this is. So if I set that equal to 0, x would be negative 5 and x would be negative 2, and that matches with what we've got here. All right, I hope that was helpful for you.